Chapter 12:31, Visiting Everywhere. Emlyn subconsciously looked at the high stool on the other side of the room and saw the exquisite doll. His eyes immediately revealed a look of amazement, admiration, ardor, and other mixed emotions. He opened his mouth and almost blurted out the question of where he could buy such a doll and who was the master behind this piece of work. However, he was already an adult and had experienced plenty of things. He knew that bringing up such a question was very impolite, so he planned to find an opportunity to ask after the discussion on serious matters were finished. Sharon frowned indiscernibly as her body floated up. She bowed at Rionette Tinker and Sherlock Moriarty. "There's no need for small talk," Klein said simply. "Our initial plan is this." He shared how he would let his historical projection take the initiative to step into a trap to attract the attention of the Rose School of Thought, and described it in detail. Sharon, with her black bonnet, listened quietly and said with a slightly ethereal voice, "They might not fall for it. After realizing that you are the attacker, that Shaman King will likely choose to retreat under the protection of sealed artifacts or angels. This way, it could only implicate a portion of the Rose School of Thought's strength." Without waiting for Klein and Emlyn to respond, Rionette Tinker's four heads opened their mouths and said at a faster pace, "Their main target should, likely, be me." Emlyn was a little lost hearing this, but he could roughly tell that the spirit world creature that Jayamon Sparrow had summoned had quite a status. Furthermore, it had a deep relationship with the Rose School of Thought's Temperance faction. "That's right. Even if the Mother Tree thinks highly of me, the setup would most likely attract Miss Messenger." After a moment of silence, Klein gave an addendum. "Madam, you and I will attack the other Shaman King in the form of historical void projections. Jayamon Sparrow is very respectful towards this spirit world creature." Just as this thought flashed through Emlyn's mind, he saw the 8 eyes on the 4 heads sweep at him. He shivered and instinctively joined in the discussion. Can this fool those from the Rose School of Thought? Since Klein had suggested that, he must have thought of a corresponding solution. "I have an item that can be lent to Miss Tinker." Having said that, he looked at Rionette Tinker and said, "That item can mimic the Beyonder powers that surface in your mind. I hope you can use it to summon your past self, then move yourself into a concealed state and inject your consciousness into the projection. This way, the Rose School of Thought won't be able to discover anything abnormal in a short period of time. It's very likely that they will fall for it and gather all their strength to surround and kill you and me, allowing Miss Sharon and Emlyn to find a chance to launch a surprise attack. If they're more cautious than I thought." Klein paused for a moment before revealing a smile. "In that short period of time, if you join forces with me in your peak condition, there is a chance of killing the Shaman King despite him being under the protection of a sealed artifact. Now, the main point is, do you know enough about the Beyonder powers to summon historical void projections, as well as entering into a concealed state? I can demonstrate the former to you, but I will think of a way for the latter." Rionette Tinker's 4 heads shook up and down at the same time. "Ice can, no problem. That's the general gist of it. You can confirm the details in the next few days." Klein silently estimated the time, as if he made his delivery succinct. Sharon nodded indiscernibly and said, "The most important thing is intel. Teacher can provide a portion of it. The rest can be obtained through magic mirror divination." Merrick echoed, "I remember the symbol you drew back then." She also remembered that the question posed by the hidden existence didn't violate much of her privacy, and didn't bring about too much shame. Emlyn thought for a moment and carefully asked, "How do we communicate on both sides? If we can't grasp the timing accurately, the plan will definitely fail." The Blood Clan's Oath of Rose was unable to transmit what they saw and heard at such a great distance. Sharon glanced at Rionette Tinker and said, "Teacher's main body can stay on our side. 10 seconds after she enters a concealed state, we will take action. Once she exits the concealed state, we will immediately leave regardless of whether we succeed." "She..." Emlyn jumped in fright as he instinctively turned his head to look at Jayamon Sparrow. He remembered very clearly that she was summoned by Mr. World. How terrifying Emlyn didn't know if he was referring to the spirit world creature or Jayaman Sparrow. After the intelligence gathering is done, you can communicate again. Seeing that it was almost time, Klein took off his hat and bade farewell. Emlyn's lips quivered, but he didn't ask anything in the end. He followed Jayaman Sparrow out of the house where Sharon and Merrick were. Miss Messenger actually didn't ask for any gold coins. This is because I'm helping her. If she really wants payment, all the gold coins I have are historical projections. I can only rely on Emlyn. I have to say, the bangle of spirituality that Emlyn provided to Miss Magician has pretty good effects. On the one hand, it can strengthen Miss Magician's spirituality, and on the other hand, it can speed up her spirituality recovery, allowing her to last this long. Just as the thoughts ran through Klein's mind, he heard Emlyn asked in puzzlement, "That ma'am? Miss Sharon is a sequence 4 demigod of the mutant pathway." "That's right, the potion's name is Puppet," Klein kindly informed him. Emlyn was instantly enlightened as he fell silent for 2 seconds before saying with a complicated expression, "If only she didn't speak or move, then she would be perfect." If it wasn't for the fact that a clown could be described as a master in terms of expression management, Klein nearly spewed a mouthful of water at Emlyn. He thought that the other party would praise Miss Sharon's beauty and doll-like characteristics, showing his infatuation and fervor, but in the end, "I can't understand what's on this fellow's mind." After controlling his urge to spew out whatever was in his mouth, Klein sighed inwardly. Emlyn glanced at him and seemed to have guessed what he was thinking. He scoffed and said, "Which 2 things do you like the most?" With Jayaman Sparrow's character, he wouldn't have answered such a mundane question. However, he was still Sherlock Moriarty, a friend of the vampire in front of him. After some thought, he walked into the alley and casually said, "Money and delicacies." "Then, I'll give you a stack of edible gold pounds. Would you like it?" Emlyn asked further as he walked beside Jayaman Sparrow without any fear of the crazy adventurer like Miss Magician. Klein imagined it and felt that this would taint the value of the gold pounds, but also cause the delicacies to lose their attractiveness. Hence, he slowly shook his head. "So," the corners of Emlyn's mouth curled up. "Although I also like exquisite, beautiful dolls and pure girls, if they were to combine together, it would inevitably make me find it a little odd. Yes, I believe that every doll of mine has their own character and story. If they suddenly come to life and not be like what I imagined, I would be very disappointed and worried. Of course, if I had the chance to obtain the puppet potion and sprinkle some on all my puppets, I might try it." As Emlyn spoke of his contradictory thoughts, he acted like a philosopher. If Miss Justice were here, she should be able to analyze Emlyn's mental state from such a reaction. Before he could respond, Klein's figure instantly faded and vanished. In the rental apartment where Fours and Zio lived. In front of the fireplace, Fours leaned back against the reclining chair with a pale face. She pulled up the wool blanket covering her body and, with the help of cogitation, entered a deep sleep. 2 hours later, she woke up feeling energized, but there was still some fatigue on her face. This Miss Magician took a slow, deep breath and extended her hand again, pulling Jayaman Sparrow out of the air in front of her. Half of her demigod-level records were the summoning of historical void projections. Klein glanced at her. This time, without even nodding his head, he directly teleported out of the house and entered an empty room in a hotel. 2 hours ago, he had been busy with Emlyn and Miss Sharon's matters. This time, he had returned to Backland for himself. Without wasting any time, Klein immediately took out the adventurer's harmonica and blew it. When Miss Messenger stepped out of the void once again, Klein recounted how he wanted to hunt the dark demonic wolf and finally asked, "Do you have any suggestions?" Rionette Tinker's 4 blonde, red-eyed heads bobbed up and down at the same time. "Sephra Castle." In essence, it's the same as Pallas Zarost answer. Klein pressed curiously, "How?" "I don't know," Rionette Tinker's 4 heads answered in unison. Klein silently exhaled and thanked her. "Sorry to trouble you. You can leave now." The blonde, red-eyed heads held by Rionette Tinker immediately replied. Bill Records 4 1351. September 4 Jayaman Sparrow. Owes me 1 gold coin. With that said, she turned transparent and returned to the spirit world. Klein was stunned for 2 seconds before he slowly took out his wallet from his inner pocket and picked up a paper crane. "I have some questions to ask of you," he wrote on the paper crane he carried with him. After doing all of this, Klein lay on the bed and fell asleep. In the hazy dream world, he once again saw Will Ossipton, who was lying in a black pram and wrapped in silver silk. "You're already over a year old. Do you still think you're a baby that's a few months old?" Pretending that he didn't see him sucking his fingers, Klein quickly described his conundrum. The plump Will Ossipton retracted his thumb and sized up Klein. "Isn't the answer obvious?" "Ah," Klein was pleasantly surprised and puzzled. Will Ossipton smiled and said, "You must have been eating too few desserts recently, causing your memory to be bad. Do you still remember what happens to a beyonder below an angel of the fate pathway when they see you directly?" This. Klein's eyes lit up,